Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Nirmal Bang. I'm Hiral Dadia. We have Dr. Arvind Lal, Executive Chairman, Dr. Lal Pathlabs Laboratories, joining in. Dr. Lal, my first question coming to you is, how precarious is this situation? Being a doctor, what's the kind of impact you're seeing? Because everyone is saying that the cases are expected to peak in India only probably in the month of June or July. And the main thing is that we need that flattening to happen. Even if the curve flattens, we need to start seeing it sloping downwards. What's the sense that you're picking up?
So the government will start from the you
Mhm.
know. So the government of India, in this case, they were able to mobilize their resources,
Hmm.
especially for people coming from outside, Indians and other foreigners from selected countries. So if it started from China, then they had Italy, then they had Middle East, and then they had the European countries, etc. So the policy at that time was that you have got to track, test,
Hmm.
detect, and isolate.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the government of India was able to isolate it. So that is how our so-called curve got flattened. And that flattening of the curve does not suppress the cases eventually, because if the virus is spreading, it is spreading,
Correct.
but you are able to contain it. So
Correct.
containment is the main watchword here.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
because the lockdown, etc., came slightly later, from 23rd May onwards, so people were able to mingle. And out here, you can also have asymptomatic carriers, and
Correct.
those carriers are not suffering themselves, but they can spread the virus. So with the combination of this, but what we did correctly was that we were able to detect and track and isolate these guys initially. And now, even now, the government of India is saying that it has not gone into a community spread where you don't know how this person has got it.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
is what is known as stage 3. The second stage is that you are not coming from outside, but within your country, you are spreading it to each other. But the
Correct.
contacts can be caught hold of.
Hmm.
So that was how it was happening. So the government of India then said that, okay, now we will increase the testing, because they were under a lot of pressure that we
Correct.
were not doing enough testing.
Hmm.
And as you know, where America has tested 12 lakhs to 13 lakhs, 12 lakhs are, I think, positive. I can give you the
Correct.
exact numbers, but let's not get into that. So our testing was falling behind. And then the government of India also said that whatever we have, we are going to put all that into the testing kind of a
Hmm.
phase.
Hmm.
And there are now actually more than 330 or nearly 350 kind of labs, out of which 100 odd are in private, and about 200 odd are in the government sector.
Correct.
Everybody has been roped in. And the name of the test which is being done for detection is known as RT-PCR,
Okay.
reverse transcriptase
Hmm.
polymerase chain reaction. And
Hmm.
this is the most sensitive test in the world which is available. And
Hmm.
this is not a blood test. It involves going to the patient's house, and you got to wear all your protective gear,
Hmm.
etc.,
Hmm.
goggles, gloves, face mask, boots.
Hmm.
And then, with the help of two swabs, one through the nasal passage, nasopharyngeal swab, and one through
Hmm.
the oral passage, you take
Hmm.
the oropharyngeal swab, put that in a viral transport media, and then you send it across to the
Right.
lab. And then our job starts after that. So that is, in a nutshell, what the government of India does. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Right. So, Dr. Lal, you mentioned about that we've now, fastened in terms of, the number of tests that we're doing. So, since the time, Lal Pathlabs has been roped in, how many tests did you start with, and now how many have you reached in terms of numbers on a daily basis?
So we are carrying approximately about 4,000 tests every day, and
Hmm.
we would have done up till now about 25,000 tests.
Okay. And do you think it's important that everyone right now needs to get tested, whether the person is symptomatic, not symptomatic, to figure out to figure out ways of containment? Do you think that's something which could be the need of the hour?
So everybody who is having these kind of symptoms and especially those people who have a history of being in contact with a known case, they have to be tested first.
Hmm.
So the symptoms are also akin to what they call ILI, influenza-like illness,
Hmm.
ILI, and even those patients, with a doctor's prescription can be tested.
Okay. And secondly, if you could just help us understand in terms of the testing kits as well, what is the availability scenario looking like for India?
Yeah, so initially the testing kits were not available because the government had not pulled in the private sector. So by the time they gave the permission and by the time we placed the orders of course had been placed, but we didn't know, when the testing is going to start. So initially there was a little bit of, a step between the cup and the lip, and the flights were also not taking off and landing. So there was a little bit of a problem initially, but right now things have settled down. But there is something which is known as an RNA extraction kit
Hmm.
that is still in slightly short numbers, but I believe this week that will also be taken care of.
Right. And do we have any domestic players who've started
Yes,
manufacturing?
yes, 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 we have, and the number one player is right next to you in Pune.
Hmm.
His name is My Lab, and
Okay.
we talk to them, on a very regular basis.
Right. But do you think testing kits in India, I mean, in terms of production, could be ramped up and then we will not need to import?
Yeah, so I think now the we have reached that stage that where the testing kits is no longer that much of a problem. Yes, because when you have ramped up your testing, obviously you would not envisage that you'll be doing so much of work.
Hmm.
So therefore there will be a demand and supply kind of a thing. But I think it is not something which we cannot take care of. So it is being taken care of.
Right. And overall, with regards to where the prices are concerned, as we know, the government has capped the prices, and then there is free testing for people who cannot really afford it. But what's the sense that you have on the pricing? Do you think it's a fair price that
So
has been announced by the government?
the pricing when it was done, which was in the initial phases, was shared, line by line with the ICMR, and they all
Okay.
agreed because they were also carrying out the test, and so they
Mm-hmm.
knew. And the as far as the government was concerned, they were giving it free to their patients. So people who are to be tested free are going to the government hospitals or the government labs. And now there will be another kind of a stream which will open, and that will be under the ABPMJ scheme. So
Hmm.
that those people will also be tested free. So
Okay.
the number of people who are paying patients, etc., they are only restricted to these urban areas like Bombay, Delhi, etc. But in the interiors where the testing will catch up now, say in UP and Bihar, etc. So there you need not pay from your own pocket because the government will take care of it.
Right. And with regards to the price caps as well, for anyone, any normal person who walks in, do you think it's a fair price in terms of testing, or are businesses in terms of diagnostic businesses taking a hit?
So the pricing is a three-tier price, which we have offered to the people. One is that when we receive the call and we have to go to the patient's house, that price is a 4,500 rupee,
Hmm.
it's capped at. Then the second price is when the government or the hospitals, they collect their own samples and they give it to us for testing. And that price is at 3,500 rupees.
Hmm.
And the third tier is when the government itself says that, okay, we can give you even the testing kit,
Hmm.
reagents we can give, then the price falls down to 2,500. So we have offered all these kind of prices to the various governments, and they have to pick and choose between one of them.
Okay. And beyond this as well, what's the kind of disruption that you've seen on the not COVID testing business? Because yes, March and April was something which was really bad for the diagnostic companies, even if you talk about hospitals, because I don't think so any of us, had the courage to go out, test ourselves, even if it was related to any of the chronic diseases. What was the kind of impact you saw?
So the impact was absolutely there, and it was a very significant impact because there were two things. One is that the scare of the COVID-19
Hmm.
spread was very much, so people couldn't come out. The
Correct.
second was that because of the lockdown, even people who were getting themselves tested regularly, say a diabetic or a thyroid patient, or a patient who's going for chemotherapy, well, he needs to get his test done, or
Correct.
a renal dialysis patient, etc. So they were also greatly affected. But as it happens in all such kind of conditions, which are not, going according to your and my, timetable. So there was a little bit of, confusion earlier, but I think all that has now been taken care of.
Right. And overall, right now, do you think that, I mean, how long do you think will it take for diagnostic companies to recover, come back to normal levels in terms of non-COVID testing?
So it can take, to our original levels, it can go up till about 1.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, because the COVID is not going to go away. The COVID is going to go up and down. It is going to be like a seesaw kind of a battle.
Mm-hmm.
And we are already, hearing that it might return back in June, July, maybe in October, November. And here we take a leaf out of what happened to Bombay in the year 1918, 1919, and 1920. So Bombay was absolutely devastated, and the whole of India. This was the Spanish flu, which
Correct.
spread in the last years of the
Hmm.
First World War.
Hmm.
And the Indian troops who were coming back from the European theater, they brought this infection along with them. It was known as Bombay flu or Bombay fever,
Hmm.
and 1.8 crore Indians died. So we are not seeing numbers like that. All over the world, 7 to 8 crore people died. When the
Hmm.
world population was less than 100 crores, now the world population is 700 crores.
Hmm.
And you know how many have died in India? So hardly 2,000. So we are not, you know, we don't want to ape that, and we hope we don't get into that stage yet. But the in the Bombay virus, in the Bombay flu days, the virus came back. There was a
Hmm.
second wave after 2 or 3 months.
Correct.
So
Correct.
you cannot keep hoping that it will subside once life comes back to normal. You and I start going and seeing movies in the theater hall, start going to malls. It will
Hmm.
happen.
Hmm.
Actually, you have to be very cautious, at least for the next 6 to 8 months, if not more, maybe a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of time frame we have to look at as well. Now, if you have to look at the company, the balance sheet is very strong. The company is generating free cash flow, so that's something which actually works in your favor right now, in spite of business going down. But if you have to look at year FY21 as a whole, what's the kind of impact are you seeing in terms of growth?
So I can't share the numbers with you
Correct.
for a simple reason that our board meeting is on the 18th May, and this is the
Correct.
silent
Correct. I
period.
understand.
So, but all I can say is that yes, it has impacted us significantly, and life is coming back to normal. We already see our after the partial, lifting of the lockdown, we are seeing the patients are coming back, and hopefully they should, become normal in 6 to 8 months, and old times come back to us. So
Right.
that's
Oh,
what. So
correct.
that's what we're hoping for.
Correct. And anything that you would want, the viewers to hear in terms of what's the kind of care that they need to take, and secondly, is there an, I mean, how they should not really panic in these times now.
So I think for the general viewers, the what has to be understood is that we are all educated people, and especially your kind of viewership which you have. So they all understand that this is a game which is not in our hands. It is not something like you suffer from malaria, you give him the anti-malarial pill, and the fever goes away, and after that you keep rubbing odomos, and you keep staying away from the malaria infested areas. At night you use the net, etc., the mosquito
Mm-hmm.
net. So this is not like that. So people must understand that, well, what we have discussed so far, they've got to have that social barrier, distancing, for quite some time. And you will see that those people who have not, that there's no rebound phenomena, that, okay, now let's start partying and let's start, going,
Correct.
where 150 people are there, etc. So I think life is going to be changed for all of us for some time.
Right. All right, Dr. Lal. Thank you for speaking to Nirmal Bang. It was a pleasure and great insights that we've picked up as well. Thank you very much.